World Online Racing. This is Tier 2, round number 3, I believe, off the top of my head. It's Tier 2 on Friday's console Tier 2. Very, very stacked grid, I have to say. So, but just waiting for everyone to ready up now. It's only me tonight. Co-commentators has not turned up, so you'll be hearing my lovely voice for this afternoon. Of course, as I've mentioned, WOR Tier 2, back once again. This is actually round 3. I wasn't here for last week, and I was here for China, I remember. We are now going into qualifying, so... Just need to check that everything's up and running. Yep, looks like everything's working, that's fine. But yeah, now we're just waiting for everyone to load in. Singapore, this track, of course, very technical, very difficult. We saw it in tiers 3, 4, 5, and 6. I don't even know if there's a tier 7 or not anymore. But we saw this track yesterday. I actually drive in tier 3, and I didn't have the best of races, but we're driving with 16 today, not the full grid. Just with the state of the game, I don't think people want to drive, which I completely understand. I hate the game as well. Don't even know why I bother even playing this, but we could see already FRT typical man-like. We can already see a V-carb already coming out of the pits. Who will that be? I think that's Max van der Geest in that V-carb. He drives the TF10, so pretty quick driver. Yeah, Singapore then, as we look at these outlaps, I can take a look at just what you've got to expect here. 19 corners here, 3 DRS zones, one going between turn 19 and turn 1, one between turn 5 and 7, and one between turn 13 and 14. I think it's been discussed that between turn 14 and 16 is also a DRS zone, but I'm not fully sure. So I saw that out in F1 News earlier. We could see Max van der Geest going on to that DRS straight that I was on about earlier. The last DRS straight of this circuit, actually, of the lap, sorry. Yeah, he'll be the first one setting things off. He'll be next after him. It'll be a Haas of TTM Trio, and then a Williams of, I believe, Samuel Barker. So stay tuned for action here as we can go on board with Max van der Geest here for his lap today. Going through, setting up his car perfectly, going into the first corner here, brake at the 75-metre board, use as much of the curb on the inside, and here as well. Do not touch that curb as that will unsettle your car. That's a very, very good turn from 2 and 3. Now going into the fast right hand here, make sure to keep as much minimum speed as possible. Try not to hit the wall on the exit too much, of course, hitting it a little bit can gain you a little bit of time, but opens the DRS and sets up the car for one of the most technical parts on the Formula 1 calendar. It is a purple sector 1 for the TF10 man who currently drives the V-car going through this technical section here. Right-hander going into left-hander. We're in a little straight here, so you can prepare for probably the most tightest and windiest parts of the circuit on the Formula 1 calendar. Goes through into the right-hander, takes as much of that curb as possible, takes that curb as well. Use as much of the track here, lock up the brakes, but that is pretty much normal. And then it's getting used as much track on the exit as you open the DRS, going into the final DRS zone, and one of the harshest braking zones of the track, slowing down all the way to gear 3 and Max van der Geest. Case, purple sector 2, for the V-carb as well, now going into the final straight here and into this final chicane break. Just before the 50-metre board, and he invalidates. We'll move on to TTM Trio, who is still on a valid lap. 3 breaks just before the 50-metre board, around 17 metres. Takes as much of the track as possible. See what lap time this is going to be now. It's flat out through this left-hander. Opens the ERS and DRS one more time. It's 26.290 for TTM Trio. Just behind him is Samuel Barker. Maybe not. Yes, he is. 26.3. We can see some of the times coming in. Man like with 26.661. Kick goes into bits as Schumacher gets the fastest lap of the session so far with 26.037, and Aston Martin is next across the line. It's not FRT Harvey. Now both Alpines will be coming across the line. Karimi, the first one of the two, 26.1 with the purple sector 3, and Chris RBL, his teammate, going to fourth as TTM Nick does take fastest lap here as ESB Bobbert is the final one to finish a lap. Here's the others, I think, on in laps. So that is your first runs so far. We've got TTM Nick currently on provisional pole, a 10th ahead of Schumacher, followed by Karumi, and Chris has nailed Guyot, as I say that, has just gone fastest lap, so apologies for missing that one. But I think that's it for the laps. TTM Nick is in second now, but nailed Guyot, I think is what I'll call him. 25.776. TTM Nick in second place with a 25.919. Followed by Schumacher, then TTM Karumi, who recently signed for the TTM team following EXT's closure, sadly. Chris RBL in 5th place, TTM Trio in 6th, Samuel Barker in 7th, Bobbert in 8th, Simbrox1 in 9th, and Manlike in 10th. Any plots? The rest of the drivers are typical: Mormonitor, FRT Harvey, Alpha Kevin, Max van Geest, and Finn Bud, who are still yet to get that time for this qualifying session. But now they've got a little break in the action. Take a look at the calendar that we have for the rest of the season. For console, we're currently on Singapore. I know I can't see it on screen, but just imagine you can see it. Singapore today, which we are watching, followed by Las Vegas, then Silverstone, Zandvoort, followed by Hungary. Then we have a nearly month-long break for Christmas, and then after Christmas we go straight back into Canada. Then Austria and Sao Paulo will be your finishing race, and I'll be in the commentary booth for all of those races, so make sure to stay tuned every single week so you don't miss any of the action. Also, as we have a break, we can take a look at the standings for Console Tier 2 once I get it up on my phone. Manlike is currently leading the championship with a win, coming off the back of a win last time out in Kota, followed by Max van der Geest. Second, FRT Harvey in 3rd, Nail Guyot in 4th, Simbrox in 5th, TTM Nick in 6th, FRT Typical in 7th, Alpha Kevin in 8th, AGK Racing, who's not racing today, funny enough, in 8th, Lawrence in 10th, and Rooney in 11th. Anyone else? Chris is driving today, he's P14. Tria is driving today, he's P16. FRT Harvey has just started his lap, so let's focus on that and let's take a look at the standings there. Now going through sector 1, is it going to be purple for Harvey? No, it won't. It will be a 25.955. Sector 1, Splitter goes through, as I've said a few times in the stream, he slides the rear a little bit. Shouldn't lose him too much time though. He's got to save his ERS as much as possible. I'm not sure if he's backed out of that one, but it looks like he keeps on going. Now going through into this, what used to be the Sling Chicane, as he invalidates through the first one, so we can take a look at who's the Ferrari, who's not either on, pretty difficult. Max van der Geest has just set fastest lap. Apologies for missing that once again, it is very apologies for that, I am back. Finbob did take provisional position while I was gone. More Minotaur is not on a lap, but TTM Nick looks to be on a lap. He is slightly down on his previous lap, but that's not too much to worry about him. We will focus on him for his lap as he goes through the most technical part of this track, of course. If you remember last year in real Formula 1, George Russell did unfortunately crash through there, and ruining his chances of a possible win, which Carlos Sainz took with both arms and managed to take the win here. Let's see what Sector 2 it is for TTM Nick. It's a whole 3/10 improvement, so he had a really good Sector 2 through there. And it's purple for the TTM man as he goes through into the third sector. Simbrox 1 has just set the fastest lap with a 25.756, which is barely faster than Finbob. We can see how close it really is between the entirety of the top four. Can TTM Nick solidify himself as one of the drivers to contend for pole position? Yes, he can. TTM Nick goes into provisional pole position by 0.2 of a second, so really makes it look really close between third and fifth now, but TTM Nick really just beating out the rest of the competition, and I think that is pretty much the second one's done. I believe. Yeah, now Guido is not on an improvement, nor is he. Tria could be on a lap though. Could take a look at him. We'll focus on him. If he's not on a lap, no, he's not on a lap. Schumacher's just hit the wall there, so quite unfortunate for him. A very interesting crash that. I think I know what he's done though. I think he's just hit because on this game, it's like the kind of sticks out a little bit. The track is really hard to notice in. If you understeer a little bit, you crash into that and that can lose a tyre. So I've seen it a few times already in some of the lower tiers. It's very unfortunate for Schumacher. His best lap time will be 26.037. So very unfortunate for him, but I guess he has the race to focus on, which is whole 31 laps, which I think based on just time alone is the longest race in the entirety of Formula 1. I'm not exactly sure, but Karumi has just gone out on his third run. Same with Finbob and Max van der Geest. Max van der Geest will be the first one who will be actually setting lap, but we can actually take a look as he finishes his outlap on the constructors' standings. Mercedes in first place with Alpha Kevin and Manlike. They were Aversio teammates, but now Manlike has gone to TTM, so that is no longer. Simbrox 1 and Harvey for Aston Martin are in second place. VCarb are in third. McLaren in fourth. Red Bull in fifth. Williams in sixth. Alpine in seventh. Kick Sauber in eighth. Haas in ninth. And Ferrari rounding it out as Schumacher did unfortunately retire, and his teammate Bobert, who's also racing today, is currently just behind him, but Max van der Geest has just finished his outlap, so we can take a look at his lap as he goes through into the Sector 1 split. It is 0.2 down for him, so he might back out of this lap. He was very close to the track limits there, but make sure you keep as much minimum speed as possible. You can see on that curb that Schumacher got caught on the right hand side there, but we're not focusing on that, we're focusing on his lap. Max van der Geest for VCarb trying to solidify his place at the top of, first of all, the driver standings and also the constructor standings as well for VCarb and his own team, now going into the last DRS straight of this lap. Opens the DRS for one final time. That's into the Sector 2 split. It is 0.2 down, so it's not really an improvement for the man, as Manlike I think does the exact same thing as Schumacher did, so catches the best of people out. We will see, I think the other VCarb is also on a lap. No, Haas. Yeah, Trio is about to start one. Finbob, on the other hand, he is on one. Let's go on board with him. Going into this final chicane here, make sure to keep as much minimum speed as possible and try not to lose the rear end. Going into the final one of those, but Finbob does actually go into the pit lane. It looks like there's a little bit of bumps going into the pit lane, so we might see a few drivers get caught out by that. But anybody else on the lap actually? Chris might be on the lap, he's invalidated. What looks like a Red Bull as well, he's invalidated. An Alpine, due to Karuni possibly. He's on the lap, he's on a 1/10 improvement in fact. Going into the third sector, he can go on board with his lap, number 29 for his Alpine car, as you can see right there, now going into the final sector through here. Final chicane, should I say, as he goes back into the pits and aborts that lap. Anybody else currently on a lap? TTM Nick could be on a lap. He's on a 4/10 improvement, apparently. Don't know if I want to believe that or not, but Nick is committing to this lap time, and if he does finish this lap time, it means he won't be able to get one final run in, and I don't think even now he'll be able to get that final run in, but it doesn't matter for the Dutchman. I think he's Dutch, as he gets a purple sector 1 here for his McLaren team, as he currently resides on provisional pole position for now, but it looks like he will be improving that even more. Now going into what formerly used to be the sling chicane, now going out into the final one of those corners here, now opens the DRS, and as I've said multiple times on the stream so far, the final DRS straight, now going on to one of the harshest braking zones on the track, and the last one he'll pretty much have to do. This next corner is quite medium speed actually, but goes all the way to the right to avoid the bumps of this track, which is actually quite smart, which I didn't actually know. The TTM Nick is committed to finishing this lap. Where will he be for the McLaren team? Is he going to be improving the actual 43 for the TTM man who currently is driving for McLaren? So we can see loads of people, if you look on the main map in the bottom right, loads of people currently coming out of the pit. So final runs look to be being prepared as we who's actually the first out of those ones? It looks like it's a Mercedes of Alpha Kevin. He might be on a lap time actually. Might not be, I'm not sure. Very difficult to tell. I don't think he is though. Yeah, it looks like he's going pretty slow. Yeah, but he's going out of the way of Nick. He didn't really have to because he's already finished his lap, but who's behind him? Simbrooks? No, who's the other Simon? FRT Harvey looks to be the leading driver out of this train, of course. He's the only driver not to set a lap so far, so this lap time really needs to count if he wants a good chance in this qualifying here. He's now going through these final couple of corners, making sure to set up his car perfectly, going into his full lap, warms the tyres as much as he possibly can, make sure to have full battery as well as using specific amounts of battery really changes how much lap time you actually gain. Nick actually retires from the session in the pits, so he definitely won't be setting another lap, but Harvey, he will be setting his one and only lap. Now going into the first corner, try to avoid the smoke there, of course, as we have seen with recent patch notes. Smoke has been pretty bad, if I'm going to be honest, but behind him is Finn Bob, so we might focus on him coming across the line. Next, FRT Harvey. He does hit the wall on the outside there slightly, but he only just gains time. FRT typical. Retires and leaves the session, actually, so now going into this very technical part of the circuit. Sector 2, I didn't actually exactly catch what his sector time was, but where's Finn Bob? Finn Bob currently in 4th place. He's on an invalid lap, so he won't be improving his 25.7 that he currently has. Chris also retires as well, but now he's going into the lowest speed corner, I think, on this track, as the checker flag is waved, and FRT Harvey will be the first man taking it. What sector split is it? It's a 108.802 as he somehow crashes into the wall. It was purple for him, but his dreams come crashing down after he hits the wall. On the exit there, Simbarox also on an invalid lap. Bobbert, on the other hand, looks to be on a lap. His sector 2 split is 3 seconds slower, so I don't think he will be on a good lap. More minutes, although he's on an improvement. 1/10 up for the Red Bull man. I think he drives for FG in terms of esports teams, but now going into the final chicane here. To right, left, both 90-degree corners, as Simrox 1 retires from the session. As well, he comes around the final corner, flats out, pedal to the metal, as Norman still moves up to 3rd place. As Here's up behind Karumi, I think, goes up as well. Max van der Geest needs to make this lap count if he wants to keep his championship alive. He stays in 6th, actually, as the next driver to cross the line will be TTM Tria, followed by Nel Guidot, who does not improve his lap time. But it's Tria, our final one across the line, goes up to P4, so very good man for TTM's newest signing. And for Haas, he moves up to 4th. We could take a look at the grid here. TTM Nick absolutely dominating drive to get up to pole position, 2/10 ahead of his teammate Nel Guiot. More Minotaur in 3rd, followed by Tria in 4th, Simbrox 1 in 5th, Finbob in 6th, Max van der Geest in 7th, Karumi in 8th, Alpha Kevin in 9th, Schumacher 1 in 10th, Bobbitts in 11th, Typical in 12th, Manlike in 13th, Chris in 14th, then Samuel Barker, and FRT Harvey, who's the only one not to set a lap here. But now we've got the lobby restart, so now I have to try and stall this stream as much as I possibly can. It's very difficult to do so on your own, but we can actually take a look at what can we take a look at? Standings. That's a good one. You can see how last race turned out. In fact, penalty points. We can also see here Quantum, who isn't driving today, is on 5, and Ryderdale, who also isn't driving, is on 3 as well. Race win. Oh, that is console tier 1. My apologies. Most penalty points is in fact TTM Nick with a whole 20 after 2 races, which is quite insane. Warnings doesn't really matter. But 2 different race winners we've seen so far, both being Manlike, who I can't remember where he qualified, and Harvey, who has qualified last. Top positions also Harvey and Manlike, but your podium last race was Manlike 1st place, Max van der Geest in 2nd, keeping up his P2 streak. Hopefully he could do it once again. Going into this race in 3rd place last time out was Nel Guidot for McLaren as well. So McLaren look to be going for a charge for the Constructors' Championship. As it stands, we can also take a look at who won last week out. Oh no, not the last week out, the first round, in fact. 1st place went to FRT Harvey, followed by Max van der Geest, and in 3rd place was Manlike, who's currently leading the standings. We don't really need to look at this, do we? Let's hope we can hurry this up. Not sure if it's a new lobby though, but I'm gonna actually take a look. Is it a new lobby? Yeah, just lobby restart, which we have to do because we have to turn on ghosting full qualifying, as the slipstream effect is pretty much overpowered on this game. Don't know how these game devs continue to mess up the game, but they do it once again with and some of the problems we've seen all the way from the start of the game are still a thing today. So it's not ideal, of course, but there's nothing much we can really do about it because we only play the game, not actually develop the game. But some of the stuff they've added as well, like the tire smoke on, like, yeah, for example, tire smoke on the harsh braking. We saw it in Legacy Division China. In fact, if you were watching that race, any of you in chat, if you were watching that race, we did see loads of tire smoke going into the hairpin right-hander in the final sector. Saw a lot of it. I was in fact engineering 14 TF10 that race. So yeah, I definitely saw it in the sprint as the driver I was engineering. Fortunately, had an incident in lap 1, which I'm not going to comment on this stream. as not to cause any controversy, as you know. But yeah, now we're just waiting for the grids to be set. What else can I actually talk about? It's pretty difficult to do this on my own, if I'm going to be completely honest with you. As I said earlier in the stream, 16 only driving, and the tier coordinator is just given the go ahead for readying up. So we'll be going in 3 minutes once we're actually in the lobby, which is really good. Which saves my my personal voice box from suffering too much. But did see a dry qualifying, in fact. So we're just gonna have to see if we see rain in the race. In yesterday's tier 3 race, there was rain in qualifying. It was full wet conditions, which then turned into inters come the end of the session. I got disqualified from qualifying due to a game glitch, which was really annoying, but it's nothing you can do. If you would have seen on my Twitter, little promotion #ad, how I retired, which has now gone about 2,000 views on Twitter, so done absolute numbers, which, you know, you love to see, but it's unfortunate, but what can you do, really? I've retired, I think, lap 3, actually. So let's hope these drivers last a bit longer than what I did yesterday, and let's hope for some good racing as well. Drum roll, please. What's the conditions going to be like? Oh, it's going to be full dry. 34. We're going, so that's in 2 minutes. Take a look at the grid once again. So I'm going to leak everyone's tyres. TTM Nick in first place, followed by Nel Guiot in second place. More Minotaur in third. TTM Tria in fourth. Simbarox 1 in fifth. Finn Bob in sixth. Max van der Geest in seventh. Karumi in eighth. Alpha Kevin in ninth. Schumacher in 10th. Bobberts in 11th. Typical is in 12th. Manlike, who's your current championship leader, is all the way down to 13th. So maybe come the end of this race, if he doesn't make up all those positions, he might not be in for the running of the championship anymore. Chris in 14th. Samuel Barker in 15th, who is opting for the soft tyre, apparently. I think he's probably going to change that before. Because as an engineer, I could tell you without leaking anything, softs are horrendous on this track. And pretty much for every single track, apart from a couple. Softs are horrendous, especially if that's your main strategy. I would only even consider going onto the soft tyre. Yeah, there you go. I'd only consider going onto the soft tyre if there's a safety car late on, or if I'm dead last and I'm just going for fastest lap for the fun of it. But apart from that, softs useless, pretty much. Utterly useless. We should be going any time now, but there's nothing really much else to say, is there? Drivers will be setting up their setups, their strategies. I think it's going to be hard medium or medium hard. There's two strategies that work on this track. In terms of laps, got no clue. We've got the 5 red lights. Now come on, for the Singapore Grand Prix, WOR Tier 2 TTM Nick will be starting things off. He is in P1 and he'll be leading going into turn 1 in fact, with the Haas and Simbrox also fighting in the background, but still TTM 1-2. Got an incident behind as Briss retired for a second. I think typical in the background as well. Is that going to be a safety car? We have got nothing yet, but still TTM Nick, who will be leading the way. We can see a couple of battles in the background, but still a McLaren 1-2, which means it'll be really good for their Constructors' Championship hopes. And we see Tria also looking to the inside in the background there. Finn Bob also out, an Alpine and Ferrari side by side. Schumacher and Karumi, in fact. Oh, that was pretty close to the ball there, but managed to get away with it. And 2 yellow flags in sector 1 of that is flashing on your timing board. We can see Mercedes of Alpha Kevin also trying to build up a couple of positions, but stays behind in 9th place as pull it back to the front. It's still a TTM 1 and 2. I'm just going to take a look at the tyres, not the telemetry. Wrong button. But yeah, we can see everyone on hards apart from Schumacher and Nick on the mediums. So on the mediums, right? This is put my strategy brain on now. The mediums will be faster in the first stint, but there will be, of course, a tyre crossover, which I expect to be around lap 9, 10. I expect it to be. As I believe the pit window will be around 15 or 16, more or less. And I think it will be pretty much the same, but those hards will become faster during the later parts of this stint. So what Nick has got to do, he's just got to save those tyres as much as possible and make sure they don't fall off the cliff and keep Nel Gwiot out of the DRS as much as he possibly can. If he can, that is, of course. But TTM Nick, as I said, leading the way. He's increasing that quite a bit, as you can see how much more grip those mediums actually have compared to the hard tyres. I would expect Schumacher to also be moving up a couple of positions in the background. Finbob actually already has a penalty, which I've only just realised. Not exactly sure what for and how much penalty that is. I can have a look for you actually. That's 3 seconds of penalties. You can see the position changes now. Keep on pressing the wrong button. Schumacher up by 2, Max van der Geest up by 1, Finbob down by 1, down by 2 is Kurumi, up by 1 is man like Samuel Barker and Harvey, both up by 2, and Typical down by a whole 3 positions, as you can see. Nick is gaining so much time. Keep pressing the wrong button. On the rest of it, on the rest of the drivers, he does set the fastest lap. The 29.6 to 2, which I can actually take a look, is a whole second faster than his teammate behind. So I think tactically the players have Nick build up as much of a gap as possible, and for Nel Gwiot to just hold up everyone and make sure that Nick can get as big of a gap as possible. Of course, it is quite difficult to overtake on this track as the DRS zones, there aren't that many, and the nature of this track, the corners that come straight after DRS zones are not really corners you can put a cheeky dive bomb in, but very difficult to put, as I said, dive bomb into some of the corners here. Pretty much every single corner. Maybe turn 1 is your best bet in terms of that to possibly make a move, but apart from that, nothing really. As we can see, the DRS trains are actually starting to split. Simbox has actually now lost the DRS on the trio. No, he's back out of it. Got no clue what's happening there, but yeah, looks like he's fully out of it. As Schumacher moves up in 7th place, we can see a bit of a battle between him and Finbob. We can finally see some racing action. Knowing the nature of how boring racing is on this track, Finbob does take the position in front of Schumacher, so those mediums haven't really worked the best for Schumacher. Of course, he can go for a natural undercut with those tyres. I think that's what his plan is. Try and go for the undercut here and just try and save tyres, of course, on that second stint mainly. But just full push this stint, then try and save tyres a bit more into the second stint and go for a bit of an undercut here, I think is what is best. Yeah, that gap is now staying pretty much consistent between Nick and Nel Gwiot, 2.5, and that has been for the past 2 laps, so there's not going to be much change there as Simbrox has actually caught up back to the DRS, but Max van der Geest is losing it in fact. TTM Trio also just only 3 tenths behind, but I don't really see any fights going on behind. You can see, if we go on board with Boberts, actually you can see how bad the smoke is in this game. It's honestly appalling how they make it so... Look at that, you can't see anything. Let's be honest, you cannot see a thing. It's very difficult, which is why I'm expecting a couple of crashes. It's what threw me off yesterday as well. Smoke has turned black somehow as well. I don't know what piece of game code they've changed. I remember it was always white, but it's it's turned black now, so I'm not sure what they've done to the game code to make it black. As real Formula 1 would actually be white, if I remember, I think it is white. But you can see now Guido has now come out of the DRS range of Monitor, as the gap between him and TTM Nick now slowly decreasing. So maybe that tyre crossover has now happened. Usually, on most tracks, it is around 8, 9, possibly 10 laps, depending on the nature of the track and how many laps there are, as Trier does actually get the move done on more Minotaur, as I just see Schumacher and Finbob fighting once again. Schumacher did get slightly pushed off track, but it's a beautiful switchback for Finbob, in fact, as they go inside of each other due to ghosting. As it's another switchback for Finbob. Will he keep hold of it now? Schumacher is pushing him as much as he possibly can. Bit of contact. Oh my days, that is quite interesting there. Little bit of understeer through there. But Schumacher has now got front wing damage as he's trying to make the move on Kurumi in a bit of anger, which is pretty much understandable after that incident. We could see an absolute horde of drivers. He's not even got a front wing anymore, so pretty much has to box. What helps him out is that he is on the medium tyre, so he can go onto the hard and maybe try and go to the end. I don't know if that's possible or not. I haven't really done my research in terms of strategy. See Samuel Barker go slightly around his man, like actually gets the move done on Schumacher's Finbob, and Schumacher actually go into the pit for replacing front wing. Alpha Kevin in fact retires from the session. Apologies for that. I have returned. You can see Finbob does in fact retire from the session as he sees no real hope in his race, but Schumacher keeps going. So I applaud his resilience. Very, very good. You love to see it. You love to see people keep going and never giving up. That's your message of the day to everybody watching in chat. Never give up on your dreams. Just remember that. Anyway, enough of that. That gap is still 2.8 between TTM Nick and now Gwiot. FRT Harvey and Samuel Barker also battling in the background, as Harvey does take P10 from Samuel Barker. You want to see Max van der Geese trying to make a move on Simbrox 1. A little bit of contact there, but I don't think that was damage, although we did see something fly off the car. I think that's just how the game is. We can see the smoke here once again. Surprised Max van der Geese can even see anything through there, so quite interesting, I have to say, but no, it's just how the game is. Holy, that is something to behold, isn't it? We can see some more fighting. TTM Trio trying to hold on his position on More Miniature, and Simbrox 1 as More Miniature is trying to fight back into third place, but stays behind, and quite smart ideas. Trio actually does have front wing damage, which I've only just noticed. His whole left end plate is gone, but I don't think it is too much effect on how the car feels. It will have an effect, of course, but it won't be that much. You'll probably lose a tenth or two a lap, maybe even 3/10, depending on how much he's actually damaged it. We can see Mormentor trying to make the move on Trier, but does stay behind, as Trier has got front wing damage, so it'll be quite difficult to pass him, knowing how it is with front wing damage. You can see loads of battling through there. There's more Minotaur. Is he getting the move done? Yes, he is. Simbrox 1, can he pick up the scraps from that? Yes, he can. He goes all the way up to possibly even third here, but TTM Trio actually does keep the position, crazily enough, as Simbrox 1 and more Minotaur are still side by side. Max van der Geest also moving up to 5th position there in front of more Minotaur. So more Minotaur went from P3 all the way down to P6. Got that series of corners, and it just shows how hard it is to overtake with someone with front wing damage. You can see that gap just increasing and increasing lap by lap. 5.1 seconds that is, and I saw a couple laps ago that was in fact just under a second, so quite interesting to see as Simbrox, the first one to actually get the move done on TTM Trio, but Max van der Geest will also be trying to pick up the scraps from that, as well as we can see Kurumi is now beginning to catch up to that to make it a very, very long train. But if Max van der Geest does not overtake Trio, which he just has, you'll be losing lots of time. So now more Minotaur really needs to overtake now. You can see how much time it's actually lost Max van der Geest actually on Simbrox. He's now 7 tenths behind when it was literally just up his backside a couple of laps ago, or even a lap ago in fact. But you can see Trio has got on the short end of the stick, as the front wing damage looks to be pretty bad, and if I was in his situation, what tyres is he on? Hards? Oh, that's difficult. On his next pit window, I would probably get off and get a new front wing, possibly try and pit a little bit earlier, but you know, just get off that wing, because that is really damaging his pace. He went all the way from 3rd to 6th within a matter of 2 laps really, so nothing really much to say about that, as Simbrox 1 is now going to be the one leading the train, as Kurumi has actually caught up. No, he hasn't. 2 within the DRS of Roberts, which I will assume he will have in a couple of laps' time, as Manlike and Kurumi battling in the background. In fact, Kurumi keeps the position ahead of Manlike, but Manlike will be fighting to get that position back, as they have actually lost the DRS and will now DRS for this next lap. More Minotaur is actually 1.4 seconds down, as Max van der Geest and Simbrox 1, you might have seen on your screens, has just taken 3rd position, so this will be really good for his championship hopes, as he moves up to 3rd place, and then all he's got to do is fight down and cut down that gap as much as he can to nail Gwiot, which I think will be very much possible, in my opinion, to cut down that gap, as what I would think now Gwiot is doing, trying to save those tyres as much as possible and use them a bit more. You can see a yellow flag as Trio spins, in fact, so very, very unfortunate for him at this point. He needs to watch out for his tyres, of course. They will be quite warm after this spin, and warm tyres means you have no grip, which means you'll end up spinning and have just lots of no real grip, in fact. So yeah, by now would have gone back to normal now, but Trio from P3 all the way down to P11, not really that good, as Max van der Geest has already begun cutting down that time, as Samuel Barker actually does get a 3-second penalty for exceeding track limits too many times. Of course, warnings quite difficult to avoid on this track, as typical. Just shows that example once again, as how difficult these track limits are on this track. It caught me out in the 3 laps I was doing. I was trying to avoid warnings, but I just couldn't avoid them with the setup I was using. I was not really comfortable with that setup. But enough talking about my race, let's talk about this race. We actually take a look. Schumacher, 26 whole seconds back on Trio. So, boxing for a new front wing. He might go to the end on those hards, possibly. Or we just watch Max van der Geest have quite a big snap of oversteer, which lost him quite a lot of the gap that he's just gained back throughout that entire lap. Max van der Geest now leading the train. We can see the first of the pit stops. Nick, in fact, going into the pits, which I must have missed just slightly earlier. He now goes onto the hard tyres, so undercut for him. He'll, of course, have quite a lot of advantage. You need to try not to go past the white line on the exit there. That will lose you quite a fair bit of time. But it's now Gwiot who is currently leading the way. Max van der Geest is decreasing that gap quite a fair bit. Was 4.6 this time last lap, now it's 4.2. So Max van der Geest, he could try and get the race win here, depending on how his strategy goes compared to Neil's strategy. As you can see, a beautiful helicopter shot which shows off the beautiful city of Singapore. So I've never been personally, but would love to go. So looks like a really nice city. Always has been one of my more favourite tracks as well to watch in terms of Formula 1. Just because, I don't know, I always liked watching street circuit races and always loved watching night races. And this, just a mixture of the two, and a difficult track, really fun to watch. Also really liked the old configuration, the one before this one where the straight wasn't there. That was very nice. But enough talking about that. Max van der Geest shrinking that gap a lot. I don't have one of those cool graphics that shows you how much it's decreasing per lap and how much and what the striking distance is. Not that advanced. I'm only streaming off my PS5 right now because my co-commentator Ace has not turned up today, so just me in the commentary booth. You'll see me and Ace next week, hopefully. But got just me and my beautiful voice today. Yellow flags in second one, that's because of Samuel Barker retiring, that's fine. Lap 13 of 31, oh my days, it's only lap 13. Feels like we've been here for 20 whole laps, we haven't seen that much racing action. If I'm going to be completely honest with you, we haven't actually got that much. Real on-track battles apart from a bit of position switching and TTM Nick being the first one to come to the pits. So still 16 laps left to go of this race, so loads of time for everything to change. TTM Nick just set the fastest lap once again with 29.429. We can actually take a look at what people's fastest laps are. Only 3 people in the 29s, that is Nick, Tria and Schumacher. 30.2s for just Max van der Geest. Now Gwiot's fastest lap is a 30.320, but see gap to leader. Free up for everyone. Trying to drag the stream on as much as possible. 3 seconds between Max van der Geest and Nel Gwiot, so that gap is shrinking, and it's shrinking fast. So, for anyone watching, make sure to put your predictions in the chat below. I want to see who you think will win. Will it be Nel Gwiot? Will it be Max van der Geest? Will it be Simbarox? Could it possibly be Nick? or who else could it be? Make sure to put your predictions into the chat. But yeah, that gap is decreasing quite a fair bit. So lovely stuff, which you love to see. Wow, there's not really much to say, is there? Is anyone in chat? How's your day been today? Has it been alright? Anyway, we can actually take a look at how Max van der Gies is doing. Simbrox is actually just behind him, so see a little bit of battling going on between the two of them. But Max van der Gies, both of them actually showing really good pace and showing why they should be on the top step of the podium this evening. Of course, we have got WOR Tier 1 as well yet to come, so make sure you watch that after you finish watching this. So I don't actually know who the commentators will be for WOR Tier 1. It's certainly not going to be me. It's going to be hopefully two lovely commentators who I can actually tell you who they are now. Warder and Leopard will be your two commentators. The stream will start in 3 minutes. Qualifying will start in 3 minutes, sorry. So make sure you tune into that. Tune into that. Once you've finished watching this, we can see that gap decreasing and decreasing rapidly, lap by lap. Nick and Typical also fighting, so we can see Nick gaining the positions throughout this second stint on his fresh hard tyres. So yeah, it would definitely be. He has much more grip, so I'm expecting that gap between him and Harvey to be cut down a lot as Bobberts and Man like switch positions going into the second sector here. So Man like he'll be in 5th place, your current championship leader, who started in P11, has now moved up to 5th place. Can he keep his championship from Max van der Gies? He is pushing as well. Now Guido, let's not forget, he's also in the fight for the championship as well. Who else from there? I can actually take a look. Simbrox 1, also 26 points behind the leader, so he's not too far behind either. As it stands, he will be getting 25 points. So I'm trying to calculate this. As it stands, Max van der Gies, I think, will take the lead of the championship, if I'm not mistaken. Yes, he will. As it currently stands, using my mental maths, which of course isn't the greatest, Max van der Gies will inherit your championship lead, followed by Manlike, and then Nelquint, and then Simbrox 1 after that. Well, maybe not. Harvey could hold on to 4th, 5th, whatever position I'm on about. FRT Harvey can still keep that, but Simbrox 1 also in a really good position. So is TTM Nick, as I was reading out your standings, he's already decreased that gap between his TTM teammate, not teammates on this track of course, but is now cut down by 2 whole seconds, as that gap is decreasing and decreasing between Neil Gudot and Max van der Gies. Once again, you can just see the smoke through there. Insane, as I've mentioned earlier. All we can see are first people going into the pits. Man, like, the first hard runner to actually opt into the pits now. So honestly, that is lovely. You love to see it. I'm actually getting vibrations on my controller, and that's quite cool. Vibrations on my controller from the tyres actually being switched, which is actually quite a cool feature. I didn't even notice that was a thing. But now Gwiot and Max van der Geest are within touching distance now over this stint. So, but Max van der Geest 1.4 seconds behind now. That was, I think, about 6 seconds before Tria's spin, or before pretty much everyone, in fact everyone, overtook Tria for P3. It was at the time. If we look back to what happened at the start of the race, it wasn't Samuel Barker, it was Chris actually who was involved in an incident lap 1 with Samuel Barker, who both retired from the race, so penalties will have to be applied for next race. I believe that's how it works here. We will see the front 3 all coming into the pits now, front 4 actually, as FRT Harvey will be inheriting the race leads. Who will be first out of the pits actually? It will be TTM Nick. Yeah, because we can already see some of the pits now. TTM Nick actually really done well on the strategy there. I think his whole 12-13 seconds ahead. But of course he will be on older tyres, and the gap will just be closing and closing a lot, as TTM Nick actually did box a bit earlier than what I anticipated him to do. He came in lap 14, I would say, 13, 14, maybe even 12. I'm going to be completely honest with you. But still, on the hard tyres or on the medium tyres, that gap is decreasing a lot between Max van der Geest and Nel Guidot. Now, even closer between the two of them, as Nel Guidot is now fighting FRT Typical, as FRT Typical does actually push Nel Guidot off the track there slightly, which promotes Max van der Geest to within DRS range, as he does not get the place, but Max van der Geest will be fighting for that position but stays behind. Going into lap number 20 here. Still FRT Harvey leading on track, of course, but that won't be for long. Now Guidot and Typical now fighting once again, as Typical gets a little bit of a snap of oversteer on the exit there, which promotes Max van der Geest and Simbrox 1 to possibly try and make a move. Is it 3 wide? Can I see? No, I cannot. As Typical and Simbrox also fighting, but Max van der Geest prevails in that little battle, which did help Nel Guidot's strategy, as now he's got a little bit more of a buffer. But we've seen Max van der Geest's pace on this track so far this race, so it will only be pretty much a matter of time until they catch up once again. Now a second, so yeah, that gap now within DRS range, as Nick takes down Harvey, as Harvey goes into the pits lap number 20. So quite late for him, and I expect him to be maybe possibly even behind Schumacher, maybe, or like within that train, maybe even behind. No, it will be behind Schumacher. Yeah, behind Schumacher. Guess that perfectly. That is cool. Make sure to like the stream for that. That is brilliant. Yeah, he comes out behind Schumacher's Triar, still on the hard tyres actually, with that damaged front wing. So yeah, I think he's going for a rogue strategy here. Maybe going onto the softs to finish his race, which I personally wouldn't recommend, if I'm going to be honest with you. Definitely much slower in my opinion, but you can already see going on here. Nick and now Guidot. The gap between them went from 13 seconds all the way to 11 now, so it's decreasing, but will it decrease enough? So will Nick be able to keep P1? Guess you have to stay tuned for the next 10 laps of this race. There's only 10 laps left to go. Mormonitor and Typical also fighting in the background, as Typical is also still yet to box, which is quite interesting as he's losing loads of time. He also gets overtaken by Karumi as well. Typical trying to hold on, but cannot hold on. Will he go into the pits? No, he won't. Not exactly sure what kind of strategy call that is. It's not personally something I would do. I wouldn't really call my driver to do this much. Karumi gets a 3-second penalty for multiple warnings, so same with Schumacher. So drivers that are now on 2 warnings will be basically being as careful as they possibly can be. Try not to get that 1 more warning, of course. It's pretty much basic game knowledge now, but 3 warnings, 3-second penalty. So you just have to watch out for that. But you can see that gap is now decreased to be within 10 seconds between both McLarens, as it's still a McLaren 1-2, which it was at the start of this race. Yeah, we can see Nick is on much older hard tyres, so although there is a crossover between when hards get faster than the mediums, it's not going to happen with the age of Nick's tyres, because now, as you can see right there, 4-lap old mediums compared to Nick's 11-lap old hards, so pretty much a goose chase, or what's the game? Cat and mouse, between Nick and Nail Guiot, as they'll be losing lots of time here, quite a lot here, as that's gone down all the way to 8.7. 8.6, anyone? Still 8.7. Staying at 8.7, Simbrox has actually fallen out of the DRS. We could see man like Mormonitor and Karumi in a little train there as well. But I think it's more important if we focus on Max van der Geest and Neil Guido. We could see yellow flag in sector 2, as that is a Ferrari, in fact, who's crashed, who looks to be intentionally spinning now. Oh no, it's not. He's going back the right way on the track, which is lovely. He's back on track, of course, with damage. Trial finally comes into the pits, as he, in fact, retires from the session, so but yeah, that increases the amount of retirements to 1, 2, 3, 4, 6 retirements in this race. Those are Triar, Typical, Samuel Barker, Finn Bob, Alpha Kevin, and Chris. So pretty much it is guaranteed points if you finish, which is something you love to see, and something I remember I capitalised on in my WOR Tier 4 race last season at Abu Dhabi. I think there was only 12 driving, 4 retired, and I finished P6. So, was my only points that season. So, and I can also say I finished ahead in. Oh no, I finished a couple points behind an NLR driver as well in that championship. So something I can brag about. So I could say now I'm as good good enough to be an NLR driver when I know I'm completely washed at this game. I think I'm just yapping now. Yeah, we can see how much that gap is decreasing. Schumacher comes into the pits off those hard tyres. He might actually be lapped before the end of this. Right, maybe not actually. 1 second is the gap between him and Harvey, so not sure if that's really going to happen. Schumacher possibly get back into this race, but as long as he finishes, it's guaranteed points. So I guess 1 point is better than 0 points, and I'd assume he'll be going for fastest lap as well. He's got nothing to lose. He can take a warning or two to go for fastest lap and get himself another point, as he is in the top 10. But what was I going to say actually? Just been distracted by something. Completely forgot about. See that gap? Max van der Gies actually did take down Neil Guidot. I need to ask him how to pronounce that for next week. Neil Guillot? It could be Guillot actually, because he's French. Neil Guillot? No, that's too posh. Max van der Gies isn't P2. That's all you need to know. Now he's going to be trying to fight down, Nick. The gap is 6 seconds, but if you look at that, he's only got 5 laps to do it. So what he has to do, he has to decrease that gap by 1.7 seconds, if my maths is correct, every single lap to catch up to Nick, which, I'm going to be completely honest with you, doesn't really look that possible. Might even be 1.5. But if they keep battling, I don't think it's ever going to happen. Neil Guillot and Max van der Gies really need to work together if they want to take down Nick. But for the team's interest, it might be better for Neil Guillot to hold up Max so Nick can get a substantial gap so he doesn't need to risk anything. But I'm not any of these drivers' engineers today. I probably won't be because I'm your commentator and will be every single week. So, as I've said multiple times, make sure to tune in at the same time next week. We will have a race. Hopefully I will have someone alongside me. I can't guarantee that just yet. All I know is I can make it. I'm 95% sure I can make it. So, of course, you'll hear my beautiful voice once again next week. Now, 4 laps to go. If my maths is correct, that gap needs to be decreased by 2 seconds every lap if they want a move to be done. Yeah, anyway, sorry, it's just like I keep getting distracted by this one thing. I'm driving in an ACC 24-hour race tomorrow, so I just have to sort out stint plans and everything like that real quick. I'm gonna try and not have that distract me for the rest of this race, but it looks pretty much guaranteed that Nick will win here unless those tyres either have a puncture or fall completely off the cliff. Which, if I'm going to be honest, I don't think that's going to happen, as that gap only decreased, by about 5 tenths that lap. So, don't think it is enough for Max van der Geest and Nel Guyot to build it down, but anything is possible. Remember that. Yellow flag actually, as Schumacher gets lapped by Nick, so he just had a very bad race. Schumacher it looks like he's actually disqualified, has he? I don't think he has, but it can be a really good chance for Schumacher to possibly get fastest lap with the assistance of DRS here. He does have fresher tyres than Nick, so we can see a little bit of a representative little battle between the tyre compounds. Very close between the two of them actually, but Schumacher of course lapped, so you know his pace hasn't really been where I know it can be for him today. Of course, being an unfortunate incident with Finn Bob, one of them, and having to box really early on. I would have actually expected them to try the hards for the rest of the race. I don't actually know what tyre percentages are per lap off the top of my head. I'm not that good of an engineer. But anyway, let's not focus on that. Focus on Nel Guyot and Max van der Geest here. Nel leading this little battle as it stands, but Max van der Geest will want to keep his P2 streak running, as the past two races he has gotten second place and second place. In Kota he got second place. In China he got second place. In Singapore, will he get second place? These are the things you just have to ask. Will he get second place today, or will he stay in third? Max van der Geest going around the outside here and gets the move done as he moves up to second place. So his P2 streak might keep running. Fingers crossed it does, because that would be quite cool to brag about. But of course, remember, P2 is not as good as a win, but P2 is still good points. It's 18 points, which is 7 points less than 7 points less than, what's it called? 7 points less than I can't think. I'm starting on my words. Forget about it. Schumacher actually does get fastest lap with the assistance of DRS, as he's actually managed to unlap himself and build up a little gap between the two of them as we go on to the final 2 laps. But yeah, Schumacher's now dropped back now. So he's actually helping Nick's race here, as that gap has actually stayed pretty much the same, and it might actually be because of Schumacher that gap is pretty much the same. So, but Nick has got someone to thank. Come the end of this race, they're just switching positions. Schumacher giving Nick DRS so he can stay afloat here. Now going on to pretty much the final lap here. Yeah, final lap. Schumacher actually retires from the session, which is not something I would have done if I was in his situation. He's retired on track as well, which is unsafe and might actually result in a penalty if that's reported. But I don't think that is really the smartest of ideas, to retire when you've got 2 points guaranteed. That's basically just saying showing a big middle finger to 2 points, which I'm quite sad, of course. Remember, every point can count in league racing. Happened to me in another league where lost the championship by a handful of points because of a couple of retirements from decent positions. But you know, I've lived that, and I've learnt now how to be a better league racer. And you know, these drivers have built their way all the way up to Tier 2, some of the greatest. This is pretty much the top of console, apart from Tier 1, of course. All of the I will expect some of these drivers to be in console Tier 1 next season. Actually, next season is the big round. Season 20, we can go. We can look at Nick as he has driven a brilliant race for that McLaren. Started first and finishes first. TTM Nick is your winner of the Singapore Grand Prix. Max van der Geest keeps his P2 streak running with second place, followed by Neil Guyot, as that is a beautiful race. Nick, brilliant drive from the man himself. I don't know if I even can do. If I can do. What's it called? Nah, I'm not going to do interviews. That is your race driver of the day. The game has given it to FRT Harvey. My driver of the day, personally, I would give it to Max van der Geest. Started 6th place, moves up to 2nd place. Manlike as well is a pretty good contender for fastest lap. Not fastest lap, driver of the day. Same with Neil Guyot and TTM Nick. Those are my 4 drivers that I think done superb this race. Make sure to put in the chat who you think did good today. See double McLaren podium, which we've seen multiple times in the actual Formula 1 season. We see it in the Formula 1 games as well. But we could see how the race has finished. TTM Nick does, of course, take the win here, followed by Max van der Geest in 2nd place. Now Guyot finishes in 3rd place, More Minotaur in 4th, Simbrox 1 in 5th, FRT Harvey in 6th, moving up from 16th. So maybe it's actually fastest lap. Not fastest lap, driver of the day. I'll keep messing up. Manlike in 7th, ESV Bobberts in 8th, TTM Karumi in 9th. Schumacher did retire, but he did get fastest lap, and the game has classified him, so I'm not sure if that will classify him. If the tier coordinators will actually classify him in the in the actual standings. But the drivers who retired: Trier, Typical, Samuel Barker, Finn Bob, Alpha Kevin, and Chris. So I'm going to stop there for a quick second so the tier coordinators can snap a little screenshot of the results. And there you go. But that concludes it. Thank you ever so much for watching this evening's race. It's been an absolute pleasure to commentate once again alongside my favourite co-commentator, Dom Izzy. I'm so funny. Thank you very much for watching. Have a great evening. Make sure to tune in to Console Tier 1, which is also happening at the same time as I speak, actually. Would probably be about when the race starts. Thank you ever so much for watching. Have a brilliant evening and stay positive. See you later.